Lord of the Things, but that didn't make much sense.
That's what you're saying. All right, hello everybody. Yes, we're back. Another day, another dollar here at Possible Movie Reviews, and that's what we're gonna do for our next segment. We're gonna talk about the movies of 2012. Quite an amazing year for movies, you know.
Especially when Spider-Man came out.
Amazing Spider-Man came out.
Well, I was trying to go off the whole amazing thing.
Oh yes. Lots of highs, lots of lows, lots of ironies. Where do you guys want to start off? The highs or the lows?
Let's start off with the lows.
The lows, okay. You know, every year there comes out movies that come, that go. Some of them get recognized, some of them get don't. And this 2012 was a year of two major flops, okay? First off, just to define, a flop is any movie that did not do well domestically. The first, of course...
The ones that didn't match what they put into the movie.
Exactly. Not even close. Eventually, though, you know what? To be honest, they did eventually. That's one beautiful thing about movies. Eventually, you do make your money back.
The thing is, eventually, on a long enough timeline, everyone's mortality rate drops to zero.
Exactly.
Eventually is a very loose word to use here.
So the first one movie that we're speaking of course, is John Carter.
Didn't see it.
Disney movie. $250 million production.
And it only made, I believe, $30 million.
Something around there, exactly. And you know what's so funny? If you read my review of John Carter, you know I love that movie. I considered it one of the best movies ever, not just of this year, but of all time. Luckily for me, there was another movie that came out this year that was the best movie ever, a movie I thoroughly enjoyed, but we'll talk about that later. John Carter, amazing that it flopped, not just because it was a Disney, but John Carter has always been the basis of so many movies. Return of the Jedi, Dances with Wolves, Avatar, lots of high-profile movies have taken this exact format of a man who was broken down, gets transplanted to another world, he has to learn their language, he adapts to their culture, and becomes a hero, you know? So, but the fact that this movie didn't do so well, a big shock. The other movie that came out that fits this category, Cloud Atlas.
Really?
Yeah, big time.
I didn't know it flopped.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, Cloud Atlas did worse than John Carter. It's, so far it only did like $26 million domestically. You know?
I guess the general going public is not smart enough to appreciate a movie like Cloud Atlas.
Well, it's hard to say. Cloud Atlas wasn't marketed. One thing that both of them share: bad marketing. People just didn't care to see it. And also, Cloud Atlas did get some pretty bad reviews. What's funny about Cloud Atlas is everyone thought that Cloud Atlas was for sure to get an Oscar for hair and makeup, a category I didn't think anybody cared about. And when the announcement came out, Cloud Atlas was not on the list. I thought that was funny. A lot of people were wondering about that.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Your thoughts on Cloud Atlas are kind of the same as my thoughts on John Carter. I didn't like John Carter that much.
Well, it's not fair because I haven't seen Cloud Atlas yet.
And so, I mean, the thing is, you're judging it based on reviews. I'm judging John Carter based on the fact that I actually saw the movie.
Well, we're not really judging it on opinion. We're judging it on financial standing. John Carter and Cloud Atlas just did not perform very well at the box office because, they're on the same wavelength. See, the thing you got to remember about Cloud Atlas, though, above anything else, is that Cloud Atlas was supposed to be this original movie. A unique film, and so many people were touting it as, in a world full of remakes, reboots, and sequels, this was going to be a totally different kind of film. Well, nobody wants to see a totally different kind of film, so it wasn't the hero a lot of people wanted it to be. But that's the lows. Okay, now we're down there at the bottom. Let's get up to the highs. And talk about irony. Let's talk about some of the highs that, in some ways, we didn't want them to be high, like Hunger Games. Hunger Games, one of the best, highest-grossing movies of this year. However, I hated that movie with a passion. I hated that movie. It hurt me. Okay, Hunger Games really hurt me because I wanted to like it. I like Joey Lawrence. I like Jennifer Lawrence. I like Jennifer Lawrence. Whoa! I finally was going to see her in a movie. And everyone was touting. And besides, you had this idea that it was kids hunting kids, so you had this idea it was going to be exciting. It was going to be an adventure. And what was it? It was her sleeping in a tree, is what it was. It just didn't.
Well, sure. If you're gonna exploit something to that degree, then technically the whole Lord of the Rings trilogy is a 9-hour epic about returning bad jewelry.
Well, yeah, the Lord of the Rings was one long walk in some way. But I mean, of course, also cinematography, they had to have the camera way up there to her face. It's like back up. I mean, literally, I could see Elizabeth Banks' teeth. I could count her teeth. That's how close we were.
How many teeth did she have?
A lot.
Probably 32, but that's estimated.
But the point is, I mean, let's face it. When it comes to great movies, and we're going to have a discussion on this one day about what really makes a great movie, you just never know.
We're going to disagree on that. I'll tell you that right now.
Well, I mean, you and I both liked the movie. You liked Cloud Atlas. I liked John Carter. Both movies flopped. And there are movies that have come out, let's face it. Twilight didn't flop. The last Twilight, yes, Twilight did end in 2012, thank God. And we wouldn't care to see that movie at all.
But doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad movie, though.
Oh,
but it's not a movie that I would see.
Right.
There's a difference.
Well, but you know what? Twilight, you have to admit, was one of those. The series was one of those movies you loved to make fun of. You loved. There was a certain joy with groaning when Twilight came out. It's like, oh no, not another Twilight. And boy, when they said, yeah, they're gonna split the last book into 2 movies, I was like, oh no. Who started that, by the way? Wasn't that Harry? No,
I think Harry Potter was one of them.
Yeah, first. Harry Potter. I think, you know what? Actually, it was Lord of the Rings. They didn't do it, but they were talking about splitting the Return of the King into 2 movies. But they didn't do that, and that's why The Hobbit, one book, is being split into 3 movies.
To my understanding, it's being split into 2 movies, and they're going to use the 3rd movie for like filler if they need to.
Okay.
From what I heard, don't quote me on that.
Right. Well, we'll see. Because I was shocked. I mean, I can understand The Hobbit being 2 movies, but 3 movies, that's overkill.
Right.
But we'll see. Remember, The Hobbit has just started. The Hobbit has started this long line of a series of movies,
Right.
And that's one thing Hollywood's really into. Hollywood is into, nowadays, a string of movies. Like, you don't just make one movie anymore. You make like a whole bunch of movies. We had some fillers this year. Resident Evil Retribution.
5.
Yeah, 5. That one was not really its own movie.
No.
That was like...
I considered it a bridge.
Yeah, because they left it open for a sequel.
Yeah, big time.
Paranormal Activity 4.
Right.
I haven't seen it yet. Would you say they closed it, or would you say they left it open for a sequel again?
They left it open.
Okay, that figured. Well, they did announce there was going to be a part 5, and talk about a series I have learned to love to hate. Paranormal Activity is one of those. But you know what? Do you know why that one easily succeeds? It's like $5 million to make a movie.
Yeah.
So there's almost no way for that movie to flop.
I think the first movie was only 50,000 or something like that.
Right. Oh, yeah. Mr. Let's pour baby powder on the floor. Yeah, nice job. But now, let's talk about the king of the movies. Should we go for number 1 yet?
The Avengers?
Of course. And I have to admit, one aspect of a great movie is you can watch it over and over again. Avengers was one of those movies. Hilarious. Pure popcorn entertainment.
Right.
And we've all seen it. This is one we've all seen. So we'll start with you, Joe. You've been kind of quiet lately. What was your favorite moment in the Avengers?
The Hulk ragdoll. I mean, I think that was pretty much when he got Loki and he just wham, 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 wham. Then he picks him up, he looks at him, and he hits him 2 more times. It was just, And then Loki's response after that, they sit there, he's got the wide eyes, looking at the thing. I really enjoyed that part.
The best part of the Avengers was that it really brought the Hulk back. They really made the Hulk a hero the way we wanted him to be. It was always him finding a cure while battling the army, and they forget that Hulk was into helping other people, and Hulk was, Bruce Banner was a genius, and they kind of missed that with the Edward Norton, Eric Bana versions. Bucky, your favorite moment?
I pretty much gonna have to go with Joe on that one with the whole ragdoll scene. It was just completely unexpected. Another good honorable mention was when Thor and Hulk were fighting, and then they, for some reason I can't remember why they stopped, and they both walked towards something together, and just out of nowhere, Hulk just bashes Thor.
Ah, yes, the
Another good
famous.
one.
They destroyed one of the big monsters, and together, and they just stood on the top of their kill, and yeah, you're right. Out of nowhere, Hulk just pounds Thor.
I mean, that was just unexpected because it's like you almost see it coming, but you're not expecting it.
Exactly.
I also like the Hulk's response after that, where he kind of like snickers.
Yes.
After he punches him, he actually gets like this little smile, like, "Ooh, yeah, I bested him."
Right.
But I will say my favorite scene in the movie actually did not involve really any of the superheroes. The scene where the Hulk has crashed through a warehouse ceiling and is turned back into Banner. And he's talking with this janitor.
Yes.
It just, for me, the way that Banner was portrayed in that scene really exuded to what Bill Bixby portrayed as Banner on the 1970s TV series.
Right. Because he had that same tone, that same statement that Bill Bixby always said.
Did I hurt anyone?
Right. He always asked that because he realizes he's human again and he has no memory of what the Hulk did.
Exactly. I mean, that just kind of defined who the Hulk was.
Exactly. And who Bruce Banner was. And it brought Bruce Banner back to the more of the... Because, I mean, the best part about it was when you first meet Bruce Banner, he's a doctor. He's in a third world country trying to help people heal.
Right.
You know, and that's what Bruce Banner was. He was a doctor. You know, speaking of doctors, one person who could use a doctor this year was Bruce Wayne. Batman, Christopher Nolan's Batman saga came to a close with The Dark Knight Rises, a very painful movie to watch. They had him so frail, you know, especially at the beginning. He could hardly walk and everything. They gave him a brace that suddenly made him all stronger because he could fight and everything. But it just didn't have the same Batman oomph that I'm used to when it comes to Batman.
Umph?
Yes, like, because you remember, Batman usually is a presence of power.
Or
you know?
oomph.
Or oomph, thank you. You know, he's such an imposing figure. Here he was a very broken down figure, as opposed to the regular Batman. I've never felt that Christopher Nolan, even though that he did a great storyline, it wasn't true Batman. It wasn't ultimate Batman. But that's neither here nor there. Real quick, let's wrap this up with what's another movie that has not been mentioned yet that you would like to give an honorable mention to, something that deserves recognition.
I'll go first. There's actually I don't want to say there's a lot, but there's a few. Silver Lining Playbook.
Ah, yes.
It stars Jennifer Lawrence, not Joey Lawrence. Jennifer Lawrence. And I think that movie really defines her as an actress. I mean, she deserves an Oscar nod for that one. I recently saw Django Unchained, and for a Tarantino movie, it is everything a Grindhouse movie should be.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the only two that are in my head right now.
Joe?
You know, I really don't watch a lot of movies. I think the only other movie I've seen, did Rock of Ages come out this year?
Yes.
I have not seen that one completely. From what I've seen of it, it was actually pretty good. Kind of like a flashback for me. Of course, I love the 80s. And The Amazing Spider-Man was the only other one I think I saw.
You know, in terms of other honorable mentions, I'm going to give a shout out to the horror movies that came out in October, mainly Resident Evil and Silent Hill. Resident Evil did a better job of getting back to the being canon with the video games, even though they were still way off. But Silent Hill, a lot of people didn't like Silent Hill 2, and I can understand why. As a fan of the games, though, Silent Hill did a great job of bringing it back to the video games, making it canon and everything. And I just thought they were really good. I enjoyed them. You know, they were good movies. With that being said, guys, we're out of time. That's it for our discussion of 2012. We will see you next year in 2013. Take care.
Be seeing you.
Have a good night.